Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Hi, I'm Kayla Rubenstein, the founder and CEO of a company called Retail Resilient, social selling for the car industry. And we help auto dealers, auto agencies, and vendors in the auto industry sell more cars, service more cars, and make more money using our social selling strategy. That includes TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and anything else you can think of. So if you're looking to invest thousands and make millions, we're definitely the social selling company for you. Like I said, who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
If you run a service drive, you know these days first impressions matter. But when your advisors are tied up with inbound phone calls, they tend to neglect their other, more important duties. And did you know 75% of all service calls are frequently asked questions and routine requests? Still, the average dealer misses up to 30% of inbound calls, adding up to a ton of missed service opportunity and increased customer churn. 68% of callers actually go elsewhere if they can't get through, which means you could be losing $60,000 to $70,000 every month in service revenue simply from missing calls. So who will pick up? Introducing Brooke.
Hi there.
Your best service scheduling assistant. Brooke is the first intelligent digital voice assistant to answer, handle, and appoint all of your inbound service calls. Hiring Brooke means absolutely no call goes unanswered, boosting your customer satisfaction and reducing your overhead costs. And talking to Brooke is like talking to a friend with human-level understanding in a friendly conversational voice. Her conversational intelligence is built on millions of actual service industry conversations, making her the easiest onboard you'll ever have. She can handle any volume of calls and follows your policies every step of the way, 24/7. That means even when the lights are off, Brooke is always on.
And I can do it without missing a beat.
You really do check all the boxes. Book with Brooke today. Visit Brooke.ai or call 866-942-1236. Finally, the perfect match.
See that light above the bathroom door over there? That's a big time saver for our technicians and other recon staff. The light goes on when the bathroom is occupied. Now techs keep working until the light goes out. Then they know for sure the room is empty. And when they're busy there, they're also catching up on the news. Not that news, but news they need for the job. I post these where they can't be missed. Too often, the search for the right product burns valuable time. This inexpensive detailer's cart organizes supplies. Now techs lay their hands on what they need without delay. We got these time savers from Rapid Recon, the reconditioning software company that's always defining better reconditioning solutions for dealerships like yours. When the goal is to get cars through Recon in 72 hours or less, every step, every minute, every better decision made helps towards that goal. For more Recon efficiency ideas like these, talk to the Recon experts at rapidrecon.com.
All right. Good morning, everybody. So, Jeff, maybe we can talk a little bit about what we're doing this week in Toronto, and then we'll get into the disclaimer.
Perfect. Well, Ian and I are coming to you from the Canadian Centre of the University of Toronto, Ontario, where it's Used Car Canada Week, Used Car Week Canada, whichever way you want to put it. And we're coming here. We're doing one of the sessions on Wednesday is going to be on subprime. And we've got 3 guests on there who are subprime experts, and we'll be going live there in a 30-minute session. And also we'll be wandering the show doing our hopefully patented ambush interviews of people as we walk around. So we're looking forward to it.
Thank you. And then the disclaimer, Mr. Jeff. Oh, first of all, books. So if you're looking for a Rapid Recon book or a Recon book, you can definitely reach out to Rapid Recon. They have a few books at they have a few books that are very, very low cost. So if you have questions about that, definitely reach out to Jim Lehman, Bradley Orr, Dan, or the Rapid Recon team. I think you can do it right on their website. So it's a great way to do that. And Larry, you got some feedback. So go ahead.
I'm getting out right now, my buddy.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, of course, we now that we have Larry Feldman coming on regularly, we do put this disclaimer and we talk about it at great length that the views and opinions of the Auto Hub Show guests, not necessarily those of Ian Nethercott or Jeff Pullo or the Auto Hub Show, and are purely theirs. But you never know. We might agree with them, but we won't say anything.
So this week's episode is on Recon. Why throw away money on Recon costs? We all know used cars are more important to dealers than ever. And of course, sponsored by Rapid Recon, one of our season sponsors. Really appreciate it. And of course, we have some members on to answer questions about Recon and why Recon is so important. So let's get into it, Mr. Jeff.
Well, let's introduce our guests here. We'll start first with the non-Rapid Recon employees, because they're here voluntarily. No, I'm just kidding, guys. First of all, we have John Napoleon. John, please introduce yourself. Tell us what your business is and where you're from.
Hi, guys. John Napoleon. I'm the dealer principal for Carson City Hyundai. I've been a dealer since 18. Been in the car business for 35 years. My background's a little different than most. I started as a CPA in the business and became a car dealer, so a little different than most. So a lot of this analytical stuff makes a lot of sense to me.
Well, I have to say, you started the trend of the financial people being at the helm of things in dealerships long before it became a big thing now. So good for you, Matt. You're a car guy. Next, we have with us. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying the gentleman that got me into the business said that I would be at the forefront back in 1987. So he was a visionary.
Well, it takes one to know one. Next, we have a real car guy, Bill Camastro, joining us from Gold Coast Cadillac. Bill, say hi. You're familiar with many of our regular Auto Hub Show people, but tell us a little bit about yourself and where Gold Coast Caddy is.
Well, can you hear me? Just want to make sure I got you. So Gold Coast Cadillac is in Oakhurst, New Jersey, next to Long Branch, the cold Gold Coast, because we are on the Gold Coast of New Jersey, the Jersey Shore, as they call it. Perfect location for a standalone Cadillac store. And we are one of the largest in the country, normally atop the leaderboard most months in the Northeast and for CPO nationwide. I had to plug that in. But, my background is I've been in the car business for 37 years, owned multiple franchises, including partnership here. And I've been fortunate enough to work with 3 public companies, Penske, Group 1, AutoNation, over a 20-year period of time prior to owning stores. As a platform VP and a district vice president, which gave me a good background. Interestingly enough, the fellow that was on just before me talking about becoming a CPA, when I got in the public environment, I had to learn in the opposite direction. I started in the car business when it was truly the Wild West back in the early 80s. And we were billing deals with the Texas Instrument. We had to handwrite all the contracts, if you go back, if you can believe that. But and I had to learn what the proper metrics were. I was very fortunate. I was thrust into the public environment before it even was a thing in the car business. And when that happened, I got to be around a lot of people and that had that background. And to the gentleman's point before me, I believe, I'm not saying I'm the cat's meow, but I believe maybe a far better professional to understand what things cost per transaction, what the proper metrics were, what the proper payouts were, and how to run your business responsibly before you, and to model it right, which I think is a great part of the conversation. And I like what the guy said about the cost per day of a used car that's not being retailed. Certainly something I'd like to talk a little bit about more later on.
Terrific. Well, thanks very much. Appreciate you taking the time. Next, we go to the Rapid Recon people, and we'll start with Dan Anton. Dan, tell us about yourself and where are you from? Because you look like you're in the same location as Bradley, but we know.
Yeah, funny about that. No, so I live here in Aiken, South Carolina. I've been in the auto industry for about 10 years. I actually started when I was in college at the University of South Carolina. So I had to get some money when I was in college. So that's how I got started. Fraternity brothers. His dad owned a little used car lot, and that's where I started working on the summer. I've been kind of addicted to it since, and I was working for Audi North America, and then working over in Atlanta for about a couple of different groups out there before joining Rapid Recon. So I actually used the software before I came and worked for him, and when I got the call to come and join the team, it was a great opportunity, especially since I didn't have to work Saturdays anymore. So I was okay with that.
The number one reason why retail people leave the retail car business is working Saturdays.
That was exactly it. Back, for the operations we were running over in Atlanta, I was commonly going to, I enjoyed it. I really did. The hustle, but really getting, growing these dealerships out to what their potential was, and but not having to go to work at before 5 a.m. I was all right with that.
Well, thank you for being here. Much appreciated. And then we go to Bradley Orr from Rapid Recon, surprisingly enough. Do you go by Brad or Bradley?
Oh, Bradley's fine. It doesn't really matter. Bradley's fine. My mom's not here though. To use my full name. So yeah, I got started kind of like Dan. I ended up being a summer job selling Oldsmobiles in Huntington Beach, California. And first trip to the auction, I moved to Sacramento, was Brazier's Sacramento Auto Auction with a real blue book and a clipboard and a pencil and a sheet to write down numbers, and been in the used car business pretty much ever since. And the last stop before Rapid was I was a Recon manager, Recon director for a medium-sized group here in Northern California. And we started using Rapid Recon, and it made things great. And so here I am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. And before I introduce the man of the show, I'd just like to acknowledge Stephen Granger, Janet Towers for your support and being here quite regularly. Larry Feldman, who I've muted, and I don't know if he can unmute himself. Thank you for being here. And Kathy, thanks for joining us for the show. And last, but definitely not least, is Jim Lehman from surprisingly enough, Rapid Recon. Jim, say hi, tell us a bit about yourself, and let's get it started.
Didn't realize I was still on here. I was supposed to be in the background. How about in a minute? I'm Jim Lehman. I'm Director of Communications for Rapid Recon. I've been a writer about the automotive retail industry since 1992. And came on board at Rapid Recon in 2020. I've been working as a freelancer for Dennis McGinn at the company for 5 or 6 years before that. My retail experience includes a rather unsuccessful summer stint selling cars for a Ford dealer. But I do remember I got my necktie clipped for selling a 2002 Ford Ranger. And there's an interesting story behind that because the deal had to unwind because I called his house to tell him his car was in, and left a voicemail there, and his wife hadn't been told he was buying a car, and that didn't go over very good. So anyway, that's my story. I'll let you. I'll still listen in, but I'm going to bow out here, guys. Okay?
Oh, no worries.
All right.
Thank you, Ian. Take it away.
Yeah. First question. I mean, with the dramatic increase in the importance of used, why aren't dealers doing a better job of reconditioning? In other words, why are they throwing away money on cars, in your opinion? Let's start with Mr. William Camastro or Bill. Go ahead.
Can you just say that again, Ian? I want to understand your question.
Yeah, I mean, there obviously is an increased importance on used cars because new car inventory, we all know, is a challenge. So why do you think dealers aren't doing a better job of reconditioning? And why do you think they're throwing money away on it?
Well, the answer isn't a good answer, but it's an obvious answer. Because they're paying up on the cars, they're trying to keep their cost in check by not putting too much money into the cars. And I think there's a general sense out there that if new car inventory starts rolling in, they're going to be underwater on the cars. And everybody's kind of playing that guessing game when the tide's going to turn. Now, I will tell you, rapid recon and velocity, like you'd find in Dale Pollock's book, or keeping your cars in a fast turn, is really important, because that's really the only way to minimize the volume of inventory you have that's suspect to a sharp fall in values. But I think if you play that game, A, you're going to cost yourself in retention. B, not only, and I think we've all found this out, the car guys have found this out, and I think the gentleman who's a CPA probably sees it in his numbers. Every time you deliver a car to a customer that's not reconditioned properly, for that lug nut that you refuse to put on the car, you have a lug nut, 4 tires, 3 shocks, a scratch in the dash. You didn't detail the car properly. I mean, the list just gets longer and longer. So your policy goes up. And the sad part about that is, until you have the opportunity to go back and start charging your people back, you never recoup all that money, because this is you're talking about false growth that you've compensated people on. It's a foolish endeavor, is what I'm trying to say. It's foolish. At the end of the day, you're gonna anger the customer. You're gonna cost yourself customers. You're gonna cost yourself service for the future, and the cost of not managing a recon rapidly, getting the cars out, getting them right, getting them on the lot, getting them sold, and getting them down the road, and making quick decisions. Really, at the end of the day, is the customers. It isn't really the money you think you're saving or not saving. What's his name's book? Carl Sewell. I just reread Customer for Life. He values a customer at $517,000. Now, I would subscribe to that number, maybe higher, because repeat, referral, and with the lease terms that were not necessarily the same as when he wrote that book, it's a big number. So to save a couple of $100 on something that a used car needs right now, you alienate your shop. You're getting in their way at this point, because now they have to do an inspection, safety inspection on a car. They write up all the work. It costs them the technician's time. You refuse to do the work. Put the car out on the lot. I mean, it's a foolish endeavor. It's a foolish endeavor. But the short-sighted people in a car dealership and the quick hit guys, they still make that mistake. And right now, I think it's highlighted by the pressure on used car values.
Hey, Bill, can I add one thing into what you're saying?
Sure.
Not only did everything you say make complete sense, but there's one part that you left out. Once your salespeople get the feeling that being kind of crappy is okay, that sends a cancer throughout too. Yeah, are they going to fix it? No, that's just the way they like it. That's as insidious as anything else you're talking about.
100%.
Yeah, to Larry's point, and Larry, thank you, I appreciate that. Salespeople start walking around cars they know haven't been recon properly, which just enhances your aging problem and your future catastrophe for values. But the other thing is, salespeople after a while, if they have a used car right now, there are used cars that there's. I just took in a Mercedes G-Wagon G63. Okay, I took the vehicle in for $35,000 more than it sold for brand new, and I made a profit on wholesale. So my point is, when you think about that, salespeople could very, very easily, for cash customers and finance customers, move customers from used cars to new cars, very easily. And so if you have them, right? So why would you want to create that environment on your sales team? Larry makes a very, very good point. Nothing good comes from it.
Fantastic. John, what do you think?
Well, to answer your question, probably a little more directly, I would tell you this. One of the reasons why things, the reconditioning process isn't super important to a lot of dealers right now is we're in a rare time where prices are actually going up on cars, right? But I always, so the urgency is not there. I don't agree with that philosophy, but that's the thought process. And I always say, when things are good, get your processes in place, because they will be battle tested later. And then you find out your bad process later when things are bad. So it's important to get them really good right now and take advantage of that. It's important, number one, to have the cars all ready to go to sell them, because when you sell cars out of your back lot before the recondition, you never get the top dollar for it. So it's very, and with the shortage of cars, a lot of salespeople are getting used to going to the back lot trying to show a car, and you're not getting top dollar while you're trying to guess the reconditioning cost. So my philosophy is get them out front as quick as possible, standing tall, and you'll make the most money with that.
Great, simple answer. Absolutely. Dan, what do you think?
So one thing that I've been seeing as well with dealers that I do performance reviews with, just to kind of help them figure out their processes, is a lot of these guys just they think they're doing an okay job, and they accept that it's just taking them 7-8 days. You know, when we do performance reviews, me and Bradley, you'd be surprised how many of these guys are sitting there saying, well, that's just how long it takes. There's some things you can and can't control, right? You can have, especially when you have kind of delays we're having now with parts, there's only so much you can do, right? You can try to reach out, you can try to find another way of doing things, you can try to promote certain things. But with something like detail, with photos processes, bringing photos in-house, having one of your porters taking your photos with you, and being able to cut down times on that. There are still small incremental progresses that you can make to bring this process down. So the whole concept of, well, that's just how long it takes, it doesn't. Whenever I hear that during a performance review, that's what always is just going to make me dive in more and figure out, okay, well, you're taking half a day to do this one process, which should realistically be only taking 2 hours or less, right? So it's incremental progress is really what needs to happen here. And a lot of these guys just don't fall on that.
Great points. Bradley, what do you think?
I think a lot of the stuff right now, even to this day, there's just a lot of guys who do it like they used to do it, and they do it like we do it. And that's really the biggest, that's the biggest thing, is that's the biggest hurdle. What I learned early on in retail, when I was doing that and buying the cars and reconditioning the cars and being in charge of the due bills and the heat and all the way down the line, it became apparent very quickly that if I cut a corner, a lot of times this car wasn't going to leave, and nobody was going to tell my salesman why. They were just going to, man, if they missed that, what else did they miss? They wouldn't say, hey, Ben, check this out. I got to go. They just vanished. And I started, and then when I did have a due bill, that always turns into more money later. There's always something you agree to fix. And then when they bring it back, they got 2 other squawks. And what are you going to do? You're going to fix it. And to what Mr. Kamastra said about them walking around the car and, the salesman, behaving like that, it just became easier when the cars could stand on their own 2 feet and the salesmen were proud of everything. And it just worked out. The other part about that is everybody goes home and shows their car to all their neighbors and all their friends. And man, I wanted my car, when they brought it home and showed it around, I wanted as many people as possible to be a little bit impressed at the very least and think, I can go down to that place and probably get a pretty nice car. So there was a certain investment in that I knew was in my retail career was generating some repeat business. And those are easy deals. We had one of our stores, he sat down and spreadsheeted this out and tried to figure out how much money they were making on their repeat business. And it was more money per deal from a repeat customer. And it was an appreciable amount of money, a couple $100+ per unit, multiplied by 5 stores, by 12 months, by 5 years. It was a lot of money, right? That's $571,000 number, I think I heard. it's a big picture thing across the inventory, and for what I think, for what has been my experience.
Great thought. I mean, I remember working for a Honda dealer here in Vancouver, and the used car manager, to his testament, would do a lot walk with the sales team every morning. And he said, listen, if there's anything on these used cars that needs to be dealt with, you need to tell me right now. I want to fix that. If there's anything you need to, he wanted to be very sure that there was confidence in them, but more importantly, that he was listening. So if there was something that was an issue, let's deal with it right now. So
Ian, it's so funny you're saying that, because I was just at a dealer in Florida doing some training and recruiting, and I stopped in to see another dealer. And it's just so funny. We started talking about exactly what the show is. And I said, are you doing your lot walks? I mean, I know everybody's getting fat, but are you doing your lot walks regularly? Nah, we don't need that now. We're rocking. How stupid is that? Because now the salespeople feel like they're involved. If there's a part they can't get, at least they understand why they can't get it, and they don't feel like they're in the dark. It's like the same thing as we always say every show. It's all about back to the basics.
Oh, 100%.
But by the way, Ian, I spoke to my lawyers. They say that I'm not standing behind any of your statements either. So how's that?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, it's very funny. You bring up that topic about the repeat and referral business and somebody driving the car home there, Bradley. How many times, a little show of hands of everybody in the retail end of things here, or who's been there, how many times have you seen it where somebody comes back 2 hours later and says, my friend, my neighbor, my wife, my kid, my dog found this problem? It's terrible. And it not only does it destroy your relationship, it destroys a lot of things. And it's funny too that, Larry, you said too about the fact that everybody's so busy thinking, but I don't need to do it. It's okay. I really don't. Well, this is where the biggest risk is, because not only are people paying more money for cars than they have done ever, and they're paying, somebody's, to what William said, somebody's paying 50 grand over MSRP for that G-Wagon that he just got 35 grand over, and that thing had better be nice, because they're going to remember how you hosed it.
And Jeff, it's not only that. If you think it takes a long time to build a habit, think how long it takes to break bad habits. And that's what a lot of guys are sliding into now, despite incredible profits.
Yeah, no question there. So, when I ran my departments, etc., I was really anal on getting the cars done and ready in time. It wasn't very successful as much as I wanted it to be. And but anal had to be the key. I was there, I was bugging them. How about now? And they didn't like me. So tell me something. What is the biggest hurdle today in doing an efficient recon process? And I'm going to go to Dan there and get him to kick it off from the corporate side of things.
So the biggest thing that especially we've seen is it's communication. Whenever I'm meeting with dealers and we're talking about what's just the biggest hurdle, it's just one team telling another team what's happening here. Because typically sales and service, if your own store has, your sales and your service people want to go out to lunch together, you're in a very few crowd, right? Most of these guys, they don't like each other. There's always this contention. They're always button heads. And so the idea of essentially paying hot potato with this car to make sure that this conversation is happening, make sure it's happening in a timely manner, that always is going to cost you so much more time. I mean, we see where dealers, sometimes they're having issues getting just an approval, like just their approval process is taking more than a day, sometimes more than 2 days, where an approval process, if done efficiently, should average an hour. And that's including cars. We have to sit there and say, what is happening with this thing? I just had a meeting with a dealership that, their average time was 0.03 of a day, which translates to like an hour, maybe a little bit less than that. And that included an outlier because someone traded in a dump truck and they had to figure out what they were going to do with it. Right? So that's something where, you know, I'll admit, if someone says, hey, our average went up a little bit because we had to talk about what the heck we were supposed to do with this dump truck. Yeah, I think we could all agree that would probably take a little more decision-making power. But between these teams, between getting sales on the point, between getting service on point, between getting parts on point, just that communication, that kills you, especially in parts. When we have, I mean, you guys might go ahead and order parts, but when we see that there aren't being updates, hey, we ordered this part, it was supposed to be here Thursday, it's now the following Tuesday. Can we get an updated ETA? So that communication, if your team doesn't have effective communication between departments, and frankly, just even being cordial with each other is sometimes a good first step. You're bleeding money.
Well, thank you very much. I got to tell you this though, if I took a dump truck in on trade, I would have that thing detailed, washed in the front line with my smallest vehicle inside the back, with it just to attract attention.
I told him to do that with a smart car.
Yeah. Hey, I used to park Jeeps on top of old Pontiac. Bradley, what's your position on this?
The communication is really the big deal, and you know, I tried to the sense of urgency where it's like, hey guys, please understand that 11:45 in the morning on Thursday can mean Friday, and 1:15 means Tuesday, and that happens very quickly. And you get a couple of technicians, and you know, you guys are flat rate. You finish this car. Today's the 24th of November. If you're in a hurry, you give that to them. You give that to them. This is closed on the 30th. You got a 12-hour RO here to help you pay for Christmas. Are you starting to follow me? How important these 32 minutes are? Does it make sense? And that's a big thing to get across. And I think right now, when it's really a people thing, it's a people business, and that's becoming more apparent right now. And the dealers, you know, John knows right now he's doing business like Amazon. He's selling these things that he never even owns. They're spoken for before they're built. So that's the thing. And if we can get some of the stores or all the stores to understand that on the used car side and move things along like that, the technology can help them do that. And really the inventory is the people, and having some good people and building communication and a little bit of a sense of urgency around a couple of leaders. That's all it takes.
That's a great point. Thank you very much. But you know, so for our audience that's going to listen to this, the dealers are going to, yeah, come on, they're just selling this stuff. They're going to say all this stuff because, you know, they're trying to get people to buy it. So John, what's the dealer standpoint on this? What is the biggest hurdle to doing this right?
Well, you know, I started, I have a philosophy that used cars is the most important department in the dealership. So that's my first premise. And, you know, you could agree or disagree with it. But because if you have a great used car department, it allows your new car department to step up, put the proper money, maybe a little more money in the trades. So it's important to the new car department. It's important, obviously, for the service department who's doing the recon and the parts department who's supplying the parts for the recon. So the used car department, in my mind, is by far the most important department. And so since it's my most important department, I want to give it every tool available to be successful and to support the dealership, because it really supports the dealership, the used car department. So back in, actually, prior to me owning the store, I was the general manager of Tobin Dodge in Henderson, Nevada in 2013. And that's kind of where I learned about using a software like Rapid Recon. You know, that thing was a monster and we had stuff all over the place. But the principles are the same, whether it's a large store or a small store. You still have to keep track of the stuff. And everything that I want to do, I want something that's really easy. I have an ABC theory. A might be the best way to do something, but if you can't get people to do process A, process C is better as long as everybody can do it and we could accomplish the same goals. And so, you know, software like Rapid Recon is very helpful. I could be sitting actually right now and approving work done at my store. I have somebody who does that, but I can do that with the simplicity, and it just makes people efficient, accountable, and ease and accountability are two real important things I find in the car business. And we just want to move things along, and then you are going to find problems at times, and you have to know about them to fix them. Maybe the photograph guy is on vacation this week and nobody knew about it or something, and so things are backing up. So it's really important to be able to see all the things, but make something simple as an app on your phone. So it's really nice. And again, my main philosophy is used cars is my most important department.
Okay, so I heard a rumor, and I need you to confirm this or not. At Tobin Dodge, are you the guy that fired the Blue Genie?
No, I did not. I did not.
That became more people remember the Blue Genie than Chopper these days. So that's great. And Mr. Camastro, what's your opinion on this? What's the biggest hurdle to doing an efficient recon process?
I always bring it back to people, and I heard that prior to myself, even from the Rapid Recon guys. You get the best software in the world, you get the best owner, general manager in the world, but the frontline guys who actually administer the software and move the metal are the most important people. If they understand the sense of urgency and they're educated on the cost of not doing it efficiently and with good common sense, that's your best route. I mean, if you have a bad used car director or manager can put your entire dealership out of business. Going back to what the prior speaker just said. It's one of the departments that touches so many areas. It touches F&I. It either helps or hurts your new car sales. Certainly, it helps your shop. It's the number one customer for your shop. So it is really kind of and it should be. F&I used cars really should be your most profitable entities in a car dealership, right? And then fixed operations, of course. But fixed operations won't be as profitable as it needs to be if your used car department isn't a well-run used car department. So it really is kind of the impetus of so many different things that happen in the car dealership. I think having the right people, I'm fortunate, I have a used car manager and a service fixed ops director who communicate very, very well. And we have we've tried everything under the sun. I have over the years, obviously, but everything in house. But when you make that decision, if the communication is good between your used car manager and your fixed ops director, they both begin to realize over time how much they benefit each other. And the longer those guys are with you working together, the more they see the residual effects of what happens when people come back. They buy a second car, they bring a family member, they come back for service. The other thing I want to mention to you too is, we had the hurdles many times in my career because business changes, the market changes. Sometimes it has nothing to do with you. COVID changed it. The used car values changed it. The lack of new cars changed it. And in some cases, the take it or leave it attitude from our salespeople during COVID has changed it. They know they have one of a kind car. It could be a new Escalade. It could be, a certified Escalade or a certified, CT6. And they just take it or leave it. You don't want to buy it. I have 5 people standing behind you. We spent a lot of time working with our people on really, not giving up our process, making sure we sit the customer down, create an agent relationship, make sure we're selling value, not the environment, not the current market. We don't want to sell the current market to the customer. We want to make sure, and I think it was said earlier by the fellow before me as well, that, this is a great time to work on your processes because it's also a time where the onion peels back one petal at a time without anybody noticing it. Our best practices start to drip away because everybody's making so much money. Everybody's a superstar. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. But, we forget how to use the fishing pole and the rod and reel and how to make our own bait and where to look for the right bass. All of a sudden we starve when the business goes back to what we might consider a more normal environment. So the biggest hurdle really it's not that I shouldn't say it's a hurdle, but just, managing our people to the right result up front, understanding that there is market shifts, there's been a paradigm shift, but it doesn't change the core values of being efficient with your processes at all times, because better days are here. You know what I mean? We're the best. Most dealers are making more money than they've ever made. What a lot of dealers may not see is their people have become accustomed to something that maybe maybe a bit of a piece of thin ice, because when everybody's got a 60-day supply of new cars on their lot, used car value is going to drop. And then when they have a 60-day supply of new cars, customers are going to have many more choices, and the take it or leave it mentality will go away. And we're going to have salespeople that are saying to themselves, "Oh, my pay plan sucks. This business is not what it used to be. Maybe I'll go become a mortgage lender." We're going to face that. So I think, much like it's been said on this call, I'm focusing on, I'm not saying we're done and we're finished product, but we're focusing on the process improvement process, kind of reinstalling our processes and reinvigorating our people to understand that we want to be ahead of the curve when the market shifts, so we protect our income, we protect our environment.
Cool. Thanks for that. Thanks,
Simple. That's a very, very good comment there. It's made a lot of interesting points. Ian.
What's the most common objections to using software? Like software, I mean, obviously there's lots of software in dealerships, but software like Recon software, for example. Let's go ahead, Dan.
So typically the one that I see a lot, and I'm sure our salespeople see even more, is people thinking that their process right now is not just acceptable, it's prime. It's saying we're fine. We're measuring things, we're fine. But I think what typically happens, especially now, is with a shortage, some dealers are experiencing shortage in used car because they don't want to keep basically spending what it takes to fill up their lots. But what we're seeing is people thinking their processes are good enough, and they're not using the opportunity of having that low volume to go ahead and dive into your actual processes, right? That's what, fixing your processes and taking the opportunity, for what an investment into something like Rapid Recon is, it pays dividends in, frankly, a matter of hours, right? You need to be able to, take the advantage and be able to dive into your processes to shorten that, because even taking a half a day off your overall time will save you thousands of dollars, frankly, daily. We have some dealers that just by cutting off, actually, one really good example, we have a dealer group that they have a couple of stores, 3 stores, but all in different states. And their volume, they wanted to really increase their volume. They went from, 7 days to 3 days, but they were pumping out 1,000 cars between all 3 stores. And this started with them saying, we're good. But just by being able to track it, and actually find out where their processes hurt, you can do the math on that. It was several $100,000 difference just because they didn't know. You have to figure it out.
Yeah. Thanks for that. John, what do you think? What do you think people object to using software to make things better?
I think people object when they think, change. They don't like change. That's number one. People don't like change. But when you are going to use something, you have to use something that's simple to get the buy-in. And simplicity is the easiest way to get buy-in. And I have found young people are more apt to try things. Older people take a little longer. But as long as they can see value. If they really understand it, they'll do it. And it's not a negotiable is the other thing, is once they learn it's not a negotiable, they're more apt to use it.
Cool. Thanks for that. Bradley, what do you think?
Yeah, that's it. The pain of change. And I remember I was in this space, sort of in a business to business sales role in the car business for a while. And I mean, I remember how I used to do it, and it was a wall full of clipboards for all my vendors, and they knew what I wrote down what they needed to do, and then the whiteboard, and then the. And there was I think there's a lot of pushback for, guys that don't want to go from that. They're intimidated by keeping a spreadsheet because they don't know how to keep one. And they just don't know that this software is going to allow them to click their mouse and have 3 people know what's going on, and their phone's going to stop ringing. And it's really no more anecdotally complicated than that. And, I think we always knew we needed to be in a hurry, right? But there have been a lot of things that have shown us this is, as far as getting a buy-in from a customer before they're your customer. I don't. This is not intangible anymore. You can put some math to it and put some dollars and cents to it and show you. It's not that you should just be in a hurry. It's if you get the pictures done on that car and they're online on Thursday, you're going to sell that car the first weekend. Okay, well, we can start putting some black and white to that, and whatever you want to use, whatever you want to call that. We can start proving it. We can start making an example of it. But I think it starts to add up. So there's a little bit of that, and I think I know what you're doing, and I know you think it's working. What if this is better? And that's kind of where we go with that, and where I go with guys that like Dan and I would do performance reviews. We're like, hey, we got this guy over here. He's doing this and it works. Let's you try to nudge him towards doing that, right? And it kind of goes back to change. But everybody wants to be better in some way, even if it's just their own paycheck. They still want to be better.
Fantastic, Bill. What do you think?
What John and Bradley said is very, very accurate. I would add that, in our world, if we don't make it clear to people what's in it for them, as my good friend Brian Benstock would say, very appropriately so, I think you got to make sure they're clear on, if their goal is to make money and be successful, define success. If it's delivering 100 cars used per month, where we're doing 80 or 70, how do we get there? Well, what are the things that are standing in our way? Here's one of the things we know for sure. The faster you put the car in front of the public, the faster you'll know what it's going to take to sell the car. Point blank. So, what we discovered here as an example, simple little stuff. When you start thinking that way, here's what happens. I'm in Monmouth County, New Jersey, Monmouth Ocean County. We're in an area where we get beautiful trades, pristine trades, very expensive, high level luxury used cars. You know what the reality of it is? If we take in a car and it's super clean inside and out, before I even put it into my shop, we clean the car, we sticker it, we take the pictures, and we put it online. Now, if we're not focused on rapid recon, doing it that way, we're going to have customers showing up the same way for cars that aren't through the shop. But if we're focused on turning the car around in 2 or 3 days max, it gives us such an edge because we don't have to recondition the car, find out what's good, what's not good, and then start the picture process and detail the car. We're ready. We have the car advertised in most cases before it even hits the lot. We've staged it, we've pictured it, and the car's in our shop. It's like doing appraisal while the customer's on a demo drive. The little efficiencies you start to find when you think that way that save you a day, a half a day, 2 days, whatever it may be, and it does show up in your bottom line. So I agree with what everybody's focus on. This is great. At the end of the day, we can talk a blue streak, but we got to get buy-in from our people. So them knowing what's in it for them and how it helps them in their ability to take care of their families is extremely important.
Thanks for that, Jeff. Jeff, are you there?
Sorry, I was on mute there. Sorry, I coughed, so I didn't want to interrupt everybody. Bradley, so tell me something. How does Rapid Recon work?
How does it work? Well, that could take me a little while. I'll try to boil that down a little bit. Basically, mechanically, we're going to get a feed. There's not a lot of manual entry. There doesn't need to be any. But basically, it's just something that'll show the vehicle as they go through your workflow. As they go through your workflow, everybody's going to get notified when
Makes a lot of sense. So I need to know is there you are.
I am here. Just ask me the question one more time, just so I have it.
Not a problem. What do you recommend dealers do right now to improve their process or their time to sale?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, to improve your process. I mean, you can obviously you can take a look at your volume and gross profit and ask yourself if you're happy or not. But I think behind that, you can take a look at your agent, how you're in. They will definitely speak to. That would be the first thing I would do is get your facts straight, and then communicate in a way where your people, either at any level, anybody who might be able to touch a car, fix a car, or sell a car, can see clearly that the time kills.
Okay. Well, it's funny you mentioned that used car manager says that car that sold way back then. Up here, selling an SUV and two-wheel drive is death. But you know, there's always somebody there that says, I got this 2-wheel drive Escalade. Oh, this guy bought it. We made a lot of money. We should keep it.
Yeah.
And it said, sell it online at the auction to American dealers. Ian.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, lots of great comments. Other than having rapid recon in every dealer, why would you recommend any dealer do today to improve their time to sale? Like, what is your, I guess, masterful expertise from years in the car business of how to do that? And let's start with John.
You know, again, it becomes important to tie the departments together, look at it as a team, and see what's going on. You know, one of the great things that I love is to tie in my general sales manager's pay plan to the matrix of Rapid Recon and the gross profit it generates. So, you know, it always comes down to, you know, you get people's attention when it's tied to their pay plan.
Yeah, compensation every single time, right? Bradley, what do you think?
You know, it kind of goes back to the people. I think leaders and good, they're found, they're not made. And I think it's really important to spend a lot of time on that hiring process, number one. And you get a few people, you know, they pop up and they identify themselves. But if you find a few people that get into that a little bit of an ownership mentality, or a lot of the ownership mentality, and they have you know, some sense of urgency, that's the big thing. As far as what you know, you can nudge people towards doing, it's really something where you show them how it's, you know, whatever word you want to use, easier, faster, better, less annoying. I mean, you just kind of gauge that and kind of put it in terms they can understand and speak everybody's language a little bit differently. And you know, I dealt with service managers who were interested in not having any heat. And then I dealt with service managers that were interested in nothing but the bottom line. Like, they would stretch the truth to the mayor. That was the deal. It blew me away, but they were all a little bit different. And so that, you know, my first F&I manager showed me, he drew this line, right? He said, this is your personality. And then he drew this wavy line, and he's like, here's everybody else. And the bigger you can get your line to be, to intersect with all these other people, the better off you're going to be, and the better off we're all going to be. And I think that was that taught me a lot. And that was like half a life ago, and that really kind of changed things. So I always come back to the people and trying to get them to nudge a little bit further, a little bit at a time. The fire hose doesn't always work, and, you know, maybe hardly ever works.
Fair enough. Bill, what do you think?
I can't really add too much more to that. To me, the communication with the people, but the most important, my master plan is always people. There's some areas I'm not really particularly strong in. That's generally my strength. But I think, you know, simply put, the faster you get, the internet's instantaneous, right? And that's where 99% of what we do is conducted there. The faster the finished product, or what appears to be the finished product, appears there, the more chances we have. Bottom line, the more chances we have. And I think that really has to be the goal. I mean, if you start out with that with everybody, okay, how do we get the car from the time we take the vehicle and get the customer's keys to the internet in 24 hours? Now, whether it takes 3 days or 2 days, but how do we do that? And I mean, you could have a sales meeting with your salespeople, your used car manager, and your service manager, and just throw that question out there, and you won't believe all the things you hear. You hear all the reasons why it can't happen. You hear some ways it can happen, and then somewhere in between, you'll find a 2 or 3 day solution to making it happen. But I think, you know, again, it just starts with people. It starts with them believing it can be done.
Great.
Believe me when I tell you, salesperson has the car pre-sold before it comes in. believe me, he'll have no problem selling the car before it gets through Recon and gets a sticker on it. That I can tell you. Yeah, for sure. They'll find a way when that happens.
Dan?
So I just kind of want to expand upon taking a look at your own processes, because it's not just your process as the dealer that you need to look at. You also need to look at other processes from your vendors, from any external body shops you're using, from your glass, from your glass guy, from your photo company. There's a lot more that is your time to sale than is just your own little service department, right? Your own internal team. And at the end of the day, you're going to lose a sale by a customer, because you're going to have that nitpicky person that's going to come in and see a dent in the wrong place. And the car can be mechanically perfect, but there's a scuff on the bumper. I'm out, right? That's going to happen. You need to be able to get over every objection that might come out and do it before it happens. That's how you sell a car faster. So having the car recon faster, having the car, and recon is not just service. A lot of dealers, especially depending on where you're at, they use different terminology, but recon is not just the service process. In my opinion, recon is making sure you have a car that is truly frontline ready. Merchandise, sticker, detail, everything. And so if you don't know absolutely every process that's going into that, and basically into that system, and you don't know exactly how each part is contributing to that delays, you don't actually know what your process is. That'll murder you.
Hey, can I throw something in? I had to jump off. I'm not sure if you guys covered this. One of the best ways, I think, to get everything together is to have a sales service meeting, throw some pizzas in a room, and just get everybody's input. Because a lot of times what service is thinking isn't for sure what sales is thinking, and vice versa. And if there's any part of the process that breaks down, the whole damn process breaks down.
100% agree. Jeff?
Well, I do think it's a good idea for a dealer to invest in a pizza shop.
Jeff, any final thoughts?
Gentlemen, thank you so very much. We picked up a lot of information here, and it's a big topic, but it comes down to a few little things: people, process, and of course, rapid recon. But thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Ian, I'll leave you to close it off.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed the show. I mean, obviously small incremental change, but more importantly, getting feedback from your people and getting them in a room where they can talk about it. Because in a lot of cases, they're just not talking about it. They're not giving you the information. I mean, something as simple as a lot walk with the used car manager every day or a couple times a week is a great way to do that. But more importantly, what's wrong with this car? Why do we still have it? I mean, in this environment, we shouldn't still have cars that are used unless there's something wrong. So let's get that handled. But that's it from me. If you're at Used Car Week in Toronto, come by and see us. We're going to be there on Wednesday, 11:30 live. It'll be streaming as well, but we'll also be there all week. So we're looking forward to seeing you. Have yourself a great week.
Take care, man.
Ending.